Good evening, everybody. Hope we all had a wonderful day and hopefully we're all staying dry out there. I know for a lot of us it has just been really a miserable 36 hours, and for some of us longer than that. Here in Charlotte, it has been raining, it has been cold. You can't even see the skyline because it's just covered in clouds and fog, and it's just kind of really ugly weather for late April. You kind of hope we'd have some nice sunshine and kind of start to feel like summer, but it has been the exact opposite so far this weekend. Unfortunately, that's not going to change, but one thing will change this weekend, I think, and really even starting tonight. I think that chance of severe weather is really going to increase and kind of take over some of this cooler rain that we're seeing right now. So we're definitely going to break that down in today's video. We're also going to talk a little bit about next week, and I do have some good news for those of you who are tired of this kind of rainy pattern. Going into early next week looks much nicer for just about everybody, so that is definitely good to see. If you are new here, though, definitely consider subscribing, and if you like the video, make sure to hit that like button, as always, and of course, let me know where you're watching from if you are new as well. Always love to kind of see those new faces and hear where you are watching from, so definitely comment down below where that is. With all that said, though, let's go ahead and get into the forecast. So we'll start here with radar, and again, we have a really active pattern over the southeastern United States right now, and you can see we have a lot of just really good old-fashioned rain for sections of North Georgia, upstate South Carolina, really all along the I-85 corridor, and just much of the state of North Carolina. And this rain extends through much of Tennessee and all the way back to southern Missouri, sections of Arkansas, and even Kentucky this afternoon. And this is going to continue overnight tonight. But one thing that will happen is this area of severe weather we're seeing down here into the Florida Panhandle will kind of begin to extend up northward a little bit through the overnight tonight. So don't be too surprised to see some stronger storms over sections of South Carolina and Georgia tonight, and maybe even as far north as North Carolina going into the early hours of tomorrow morning. So right now, we're seeing a lot of just good old-fashioned cold rain through places like Greenville, Charlotte, and Greensboro. That could change going into the overnight tonight and into tomorrow, but I think that's really more likely down here into Georgia and South Carolina. But for you folks up here in Kentucky, Tennessee, and kind of in that general area, really just a good old-fashioned cold kind of springtime rain with this event through really from now through Sunday. Any rain you see, I wouldn't expect really much any severe weather in kind of this circled area here. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at satellite as well. And you can tell we have this big-time low-pressure system cranking up over the southern plains right now, and that is helping to continue to feed in this Gulf air, and that is what is allowing all of this rain and these clouds to form. And we do have a boundary also kind of set up here, and that is what is allowing this rain to just kind of continue to drive through it, and also why we have severe weather to the south here in Florida and just kind of a good old-fashioned cold rain for areas further to the north. So if you're kind of north of that boundary, you're in kind of this cool weather and this rain, and if you're to the south of it, you have this severe weather as we are seeing in the Florida Panhandle this afternoon. So looking at those hazards, again, really kind of the only big story in terms of dangerous weather that we're seeing is this area of strong storms into the Florida Panhandle right now. But I would also expect some stronger storms later today into sections of Texas and Oklahoma and even tomorrow. But we'll take a look at that here. Well, I guess right now is whenever we will do that, but we're going to do this in kind of a bit of a slower fashion. I'm going to break down the next 48 hours or so, and we'll go ahead and start with what we're seeing right now. Again, a lot of rain here in these kind of northern sections of the shield of rain, and nothing severe, but we are seeing these stronger storms, as you can see depicted by kind of these brighter colors on the radar returns down here. And as we get into tonight, again, you'll notice some of these kind of brighter colors try to work their way up into Georgia and South Carolina. And so these could be some thunderstorms, maybe even some stronger thunderstorms. I can't rule out some, maybe some hail, some damaging winds, and the chance of a brief isolated tornado, but that's really not the big concern tonight. It's really just kind of that chance of maybe some stronger winds. But what this is also going to do is bring a ton of rain with it. So overnight tonight in places like Columbia, kind of up I-26 and down I-26 through South Carolina, a lot of heavy rain. Same story for southern Georgia. And then as we go into kind of closer to the midnight hour, that heavy rain is going to work into Charlotte and then eventually up into the Raleigh and Greensboro area as well. Now, as we get into tomorrow morning, we'll bring this to about 8 a.m. tomorrow. It's going to look a lot clearer in the southeast. So, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, much of Florida looks a lot nicer tomorrow morning, but still some leftover rain in North Carolina. And also, by the time we get into tomorrow morning, that's when this kind of big shield of rain is going to work up into the D.C. metro area through much of West Virginia, Ohio, sections of northern Indiana, and back down into southern Virginia as well tomorrow morning. But as we go through the day tomorrow, I do expect that shield of rain to continue to push north and east, so likely clearing out, but behind that, we are going to get some scattered storms to fire up. And we do have the risk of some of these turning severe tomorrow. So through much of the Carolinas, maybe even Tennessee, sections of eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, tomorrow afternoon, if we do get any of these storms to form, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of them turn severe here, kind of in this circled area on your map, as we do have the ingredients in the atmosphere for some stronger storms tomorrow afternoon, so we will definitely watch that. Now, luckily, after those storms move on through and we get into tomorrow evening, we should really begin to clear out for much of the southeast before we get that next round of rain. You can see kind of being eluded back out here towards the west, and that will likely move in on Sunday when we will have another severe weather threat with that low pressure system that moves in then. So again, we're kind of getting this first round of low pressure right now, but this weekend we'll get that second round, especially going into Sunday afternoon for most of us folks here in the southeast. So looking at tomorrow's severe weather map, again, we do have that risk. We do have a marginal risk here through sections of the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and even up through Virginia and West Virginia, as I touched on with that last map. But we will also have a kind of a bigger severe weather risk out here into Texas and Oklahoma. And I actually did not mention that, so let me go back here to our other map. I don't want to leave you folks out there in that part of the country. But for those sections of the country tomorrow in that slight risk and that enhanced risk, that will likely come tomorrow evening, as we will get a pretty big area of storms to develop. And again, this is with that second area of low pressure that is going to also cause severe weather in the southeast on Sunday, I think. So looking at this, you can see these big areas of thunderstorms overnight tomorrow and into early Saturday morning. We'll definitely have to watch for that. And again, all hazards on the table, plenty of big hail, plenty of strong winds, and even some tornadoes possible back out in that area tomorrow evening before eventually that works out going into Saturday morning. So now moving back towards the other map we were looking at, again, this marginal risk for some afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow, but that more kind of defined and bigger threat of severe weather tomorrow evening and overnight into sections of eastern and central Texas. All right, so moving this ahead to that severe weather threat again tomorrow, breaking this down a little bit more for you. This is our supercell composite, so this just kind of shows the ingredients for strong storms, and this is kind of what we're looking at this evening. Again, the chance of some stronger storms over sections of South Carolina and Georgia, as I said, we definitely can't rule that out, but as we go into kind of the overnight tonight, that threat kind of dies down, but once we get into tomorrow afternoon, you'll notice this threat flares back up again here, especially in the Carolinas and Georgia, where I think we'll have the highest chance of some of those strong storms. Specifically here into the western Carolinas, I think upstate South Carolina, western North Carolina, and the Piedmont of the Carolinas could have really a chance at a kind of surprise severe storm tomorrow, and these do have the chance of rotating. So I don't want you to get too caught off guard, and maybe we get a tornado warning tomorrow out of these, but it's nothing off the charts. Just, being in this area long enough, you just always have to be kind of ready for that chance. But nonetheless, these do look like the chance to be supercells, so you can see some pretty impressive clouds with these things, plenty of lightning, some strong wind, and some hail as well. So we'll definitely watch out for that tomorrow afternoon. Again, before those ingredients clear out going into the overnight tomorrow, and we have a much safer Saturday in store. Now, moving this ahead to the weekend storm, again, kind of looking at this to just point out what's happening. This is this area of rain we're dealing with right now, but you'll notice back up here into the plains, this piece of energy is going to dive south, and that's what's going to cause that severe weather in Texas tomorrow. And then you'll notice eventually this kind of curls through the Gulf and then pushes up through the mid-Atlantic, and that's where I think we could get another burst of severe weather on Sunday. So, again, this is Saturday afternoon, relatively nice here into the east and the southeast, before then Sunday, this area of low pressure climbs back into the forecast. And again, this is a pretty strong low pressure. Anytime you get below 1,000 millibars, that's when things get pretty impressive in terms of how deep the pressure is. And this is going to bring a lot of wind energy. So anywhere to the east and south of this low pressure, kind of in this area, is going to have that chance at some strong storms because of all the wind energy. Also, this is going to be helping to pull up some of that warmer air from the south, and that is going to allow some of the clouds to potentially rotate and produce some tornadic storms on Sunday, and this is what really has my eye. Now, the big question mark is where exactly does this low pressure set up? This could set up right here over the center of South Carolina. It could set up further to the north and east and bring more people into play for that severe weather threat. It could also set up right here on the coast, and then we really just have a whole bunch of water spouts going on. All of those are still options on the table. Now, luckily, one limiting factor here is instability. And now, again, we're going to have a lot of wind energy here, but this is going to be really precipitation heavy. So this could likely just be a line of storms. But if this, as we get closer, trends to more of a supercellular threat and we have more individual cells here in the Carolinas, that's something we're really going to have to watch out for in terms of severe weather. So again, as we go into overnight Sunday and into early Monday, this big area of rain and wind will then move up the coast into the northeast and cause likely a lot of problems even into the northeast with maybe some coastal flooding as this low really cranks up before once again we clear out going into early next week with cooler, drier weather behind this cold front. So taking a bit more of a close look at this is the Euro model, and you'll notice the Euro here going into Sunday afternoon brings this low a little bit further to the north and to the west, kind of over upstate South Carolina. So again, with that, you get this big warm sector here combined with a lot of wind energy, and that spells trouble Sunday afternoon for the chance at some severe weather. So as we move or look at another map here, this is the wind energy, and you'll notice some of these readings here are getting up towards 80 knots of wind energy, and that is plenty enough to cause severe weather. Really, once you get past 60, that's whenever things really start to be strong enough to produce severe weather. This is getting up towards the 80 range, so we're going to have plenty of wind energy. And then if you look at the dew points as well, you'll notice we will have enough of a warm sector here to work with that will definitely potentially cause some stronger storms on Sunday. Again, this is just dew points. The kind of limiting factor here is that CAPE, or that potential energy in the atmosphere for these storms to really get going. That likely will be lacking some, but if that were to uptrend at all, then I'd really get concerned about the prospects for severe weather here in this region on Sunday. The other big story, of course, is all this rain we're going to get, and most of that left to come is really kind of here into the deep south and up through the east coast as this next low pressure system this weekend gets cranking. And again, widespread 1 to 3, even 3 to 5 inches of rain here right along the I-95 corridor, and I think especially here through the Florida Panhandle where we're already seeing a lot of those storms, and also right here on those southern-facing slopes of the Appalachian Mountains where we have a little bit more of that uplifting. And the topography just helps allow some of that rain to really get going in those regions. So, but really everyone on the East Coast is going to see a lot of rain from now through really Monday up through the Northeast, but likely through Sunday in the Southeast. Sorry, my lamp decided to go up another notch there. Anyway, now moving into next week, again, it does look much nicer, so likely cooler than average temperatures here in the East. But the nicer thing will be these dew points really coming down, and with that, less precipitation, also less humidity, or less kind of muggy that the air feels, I guess is a better way to word it. So definitely watching out for this next week. It does look like we get some relief, although cooler and maybe a tad windy at times. It looks much drier, so we should definitely be able to kind of dry out those soils going into early next week. With all that said, again, hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you found something informative. And if you did, let me know in the comments. And again, make sure you have that umbrella ready, and I will see you all tomorrow.